Kenobi. Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Reporter podcast, episode 91. Can you believe that? Today,
Don't you mean hello there?
Yeah.
Hello there. I can't.
Wasted
I'm
opportunity.
Not slick. I'm not slick. I mean, look it. I cannot do that. I'm not that slick. We have a full crew here today. Almost. We're missing Adam, but he's packing and on his way to Saskatchewan. So I know Americans love that word, Saskatchewan.
Yep, they do.
It's a fun word. I feel like it's north.
My next question was, Jen, do you have any idea where Saskatchewan is? Was my next question.
I do not.
It's in the middle. It's in the middle of Canada.
It's in the one part of the city in Canada. So
it's near Toronto.
Everything's near
Toronto. Yes.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about basically the finale in the series of Obi-Wan as a whole. As you can see, our reaction, minus Jen, she was going to do it live. We're very excited about this.
You had your serious face on, Steve.
Yeah, I was trying to be I was thinking and I was deep in thought, because my holy cow face, I'll show you the pictures later. I felt like such a dork. I'm like, do I really look that way? So I'm like, I think that's what I was doing while I was taking the picture. I was like, man, do I look like that? And that was actually what was going on in my head. But
I meant to take a picture, but then I got too distracted, like actually watching the show, and then I forgot to take pictures. So
priorities, Jen. Come on.
The show is only secondary. Come on to the surprise look that every avatar has out there. So welcome to everyone that is watching, all 3 million of you. And just want to make sure that if you would like and subscribe to the channel, that would be great. Because if you do, Jen won't cry. And also make sure that you follow us on our social media, which is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Apparently, Facebook is for old people. So
I'm old.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess we're old and you're not. Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Jen, for coming out. I'm bringing her out of this thing here. So, I just want to get into it. So we have lots to talk about. I know that Todd has to leave within the hour. So
yes.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, guys.
Obi-Wan Kenobi had his big finale.
My prequel heart is so full. Like, just. We can get into it. There's of course there's little things that that we could nitpick at and stuff like that, but just
sure,
if we want to just talk about like favorite things or whatever, like obviously the duel, like the rematch, this is just it was so great.
See, here's a situation where, of course, Jen, you're big prequel fan, right? I've learned to appreciate the prequels a lot more now. But I heard of Obi-Wan. Okay, sure, whatever. Wasn't totally excited about it, but I can honestly say now that the series is finished, it was by far my favorite Star Wars disneyplus series by far. Like,
really, more than the Mandalorian, huh?
Way more than the Mandalorian.
Really, that's awesome.
Again, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy the Mandalorian. I thought this was better. Maybe because I thought Ewan McGregor was awesome. I thought just watching Obi-Wan struggle and be broken. I've seen stormtroopers, like lots and lots of stormtroopers.
There were so many TK stormtroopers.
And
they're
then
everywhere.
The greatest villain of cinematic history, Darth Vader, makes an appearance, and you see him badder than ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like meaner, badder, more ruthless than you've ever seen him before. Like, we had a little glimpse of him at his ultimate power at the end of Rogue One, but here you see him just flexing, and it was so much fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it was my absolute favorite part of this particular episode of the finale was that integration of Hayden's voice and James Earl Jones. That was just absolutely beautifully done. The dialogue that happens at the end of the duel with, the Anakin's gone, I'm what remains. Like, but it's Hayden's voice, and it drops into the James Earl Jones voice. Like, it just beautiful, like absolutely beautifully done. Whoever did that voice work, I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. That beautiful, meshing of the two audio, like it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. And like the dialogue that happens between the two of them, of that moment is so painful but beautiful, and it's exactly what Obi-Wan needs. It's so good without like completely just reciting the whole scene. But I love the way that it was done, and like the way that the duel was shot. The red and the blue with the gray backgrounds, and the way the lightsabers are reflected into Vader's visor, mask and things like that. Just absolutely beautiful. Those big wide shots where they're so tiny, just absolutely gorgeous. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So the duel, I mean, there's other cool things in the episode, obviously. My favorite part was the duel, and then that dialogue at the end of it. So that's
just cut right to the chase, right, Jen? No,
yes.
You don't work your way up to the best part.
No,
Boom,
no,
there it is, the duel.
That's my favorite.
Well, one thing I found this, like, how emotional this whole entire series was. There were so many moments in this series where it was, touches you, right? Like, there's so many emotions. There was the interaction with Leia as a girl, and when she's asked about, my parents, and that whole thing, that moment, right? And then even in the final episode, there's that moment where he's, I did know your parents. I can see you have this traits of your mom.
I cried there. Yeah.
And I'm an old man. I'm so sappy when I started having kids. I cried everything. I cried so many times in every episode. Like, we didn't talk about episode 4, the previous episode. Sorry, episode 5, right?
Yeah.
Like when remember the Imperial spy was helping Obi-Wan. She got taken down, and her and her droid fell down, and and she sacrificed herself. Run, and she blows herself out of the thermal detonator. Like, I was like, it was like, wow, like that's good storytelling. You can connect to these characters who are running around for a little short time, but there's an emotional connection to them, right? And so I thought they did an amazing job of building up those emotional connections to the people. Even though Leia's a little girl, and we never knew Princess Leia as a little girl, but I thought they did such a good job of showing that personality of what she becomes in A New Hope. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And just like, and the simple fact that when Obi-Wan's explaining to her, like, she has a characteristics from both parents. And I just thought it tied in so well together.
I think so. I think that's one of the things that people don't talk about enough too, is the traits from her father. That, like, the fearlessness, the recklessness a little bit, like the those kind of things, because she does have Anakin in her. Like, she is very much like her mother, but she is also a little Anakin. And like, but I thought that was very beautiful the way he tells her, like and it's so pretty. But what you were saying about the spy, the droid, that moment, as soon as they introduced that loading droid or whatever, I got the real K2SO like vibes. I was like, he's going down, and I'm gonna cry about it. Like, like immediately.
Consider the character doesn't see the word. That's amazing storytelling. Again, the character doesn't make one syllable sound.
No,
right?
And I immediately had an emotional attachment to him. I'm like, he's gonna matter, and I'm gonna care a lot about him.
He fell on top. He fell on top of her to protect her, right? And he's taking all the shots. Like, wow! It was such a powerful statement without saying a word. And that's what's amazing character development. When you don't say a word, and we've been saying this a lot about Mandalorian, where they have a look, right? Like, he doesn't say anything, you can't see his face, but it's the look. It's the look, And we see that lots. When we said that with stormtroopers, we were on the bar on that little bus thing with Obi-Wan and Princess Leia. The stormtrooper looks. And that says so much with the certain look. And the droid, again, no facial expression, no voice, no nothing, but actions. It was, I think that's such effective storytelling throughout the whole entire series.
Yeah, I did like that scene where they were coming into that hidden base. And I just like when there's sheer numbers of stormtroopers, it just looks really cool to me. So when they're coming in, and I guess they're not rebels yet, but the Underground Railroad people are kind of being overwhelmed. I kind of
Yeah.
like that look, and just with some mayhem with blaster bolts going by, we just I just needed more of that, and that episode really paid off. So
Well, again, you don't see a lot of that really in Star Wars universe. You see the good guys, the main characters against the stormtroopers, but you see the episode 1, sorry, episode 4, A New Hope, where where the blockade runner got sucked into the Star Destroyer, and you see, you don't see a lot of that, right? And that
Right.
was really kind of cool. You see just people taking up arms, trying to defend themselves against an overwhelming army, right? And just there's so many attributes, again, just really made effective storytelling, I thought.
Another little thing, just because how much I love the music of Star Wars, when Obi-Wan is saying all those things to Leia, did you notice they use Leia's theme? The
Mhm.
da na na
Yeah.
that Leia's theme like is playing, and that's the first time they've used it in the Obi-Wan series or whatever. And I thought that was so sweet. That was such a nice little nod to the original John Williams
Yeah.
leitmotifs and stuff like that. I thought it was so beautiful, and that's actually probably why I cried, because it was such a beautiful moment.
They also use the main Star Wars theme too, but they slowed it down lots, like lots of really slow pace a couple times in the show too, in the episodes. And again, like you're saying, using familiar sounds, but just changing the pace, the mood, again, but creating a nostalgia feeling, right, where it touches you, like you remember those moments, you remember that feeling, you remember that it's hitting that brain sensors, right, and it just really makes you go, aw. There's so many parts, even the part when you have this transport flying trying to get away from the Star Destroyer. Vader's like, increase firepower, and there's like they're blasting, and it just the look on all the passengers' face of concern and worry, and Obi-Wan's going, okay, I gotta go, right?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Keep going.
I was just saying, like, I really like that scene too, right? Like, they're like, you can't go, you can't go, you can't, like, but it's just, that's where he's starting to become the Jedi he's supposed to be, right? You know what I'm saying? That's his, he's hiding out, not doing anything, and now he's doing something. Okay, I have to, like, I just really like that kind of arc. I liked how, he slowly, the more he did, the more confident in his Jedi abilities he became, right? And you see that transition every episode. Like, I was telling Steve when he was trying to rescue Leia off that Vader after that Inquisitor play, it's like he was throwing around the lightsaber like he didn't know what he was doing, right? But as every show came along, the more he did, the more he followed the Jedi path, it seemed like he had more control over himself, right? So it's just kind of neat to see that transition. Again, not even dialogue, just, again, as an actor, showing the progression of, getting more in control of what your abilities are. I thought it was, again, really well executed.
Yeah, I like that progression there. I mean, my favorite parts, I guess, in probably the last 2 episodes were the flashbacks, or that kind of callback to, I showed this picture. It's actually our background here.
Yeah, I love it.
This whole fight scene, and it gets kind of serious at the end, but I liked how it started, right? Obi-Wan comes in, he lights the lightsaber, and he's got this smirk on his face, like, let's go. And because it's probably a routine that they do, right? That's what Anakin was probably there waiting for him. And I remember as they were fighting, or sparring, and they were talking, this is what I thought we needed more of in Revenge of the Sith, when they were fighting.
Yes.
But this was fun. I remember the things that Anakin was saying, and in response to what Obi-Wan was saying, like, you're too aggressive, you're this, and how he was talking, I thought, okay, so how could they, like, if I was Obi-Wan, I'd be like, okay, whoa, hang on a second. we gotta take time out with your thoughts on how things should be done. I think we need to go and meditate for a while and talk about this. He was saying some crazy things.
Here's the thing, though. Do you think if Anakin had been raised at any other time in history, not during the Clone Wars, like, think about that. If Anakin had been born into any other period in the Star Wars history, and had not come up as a youngling Padawan during any other time, would he have had a different outcome? Because he was raised when generals, when Jedi needed to become militant, right?
No, right.
So that's the thing, is so that being raised in this unique time
Mhm.
of history, you know what I mean, made him it's a nature nurture kind of situation, like somebody who is a little more predisposed to like passion and violence being
Mhm.
raised in an environment where those things are necessary because of what is being asked of the Jedi. Does that make a monster? Or is that like what's necessary of the Jedi during that time, right? It's like this issue of what's being like, um, you know, men during times of war and things
Right.
like that, of what's being asked of them, and then men at times of peace and things like that. So it's this interesting thing to consider, of
Right.
maybe if Anakin hadn't been raised during that time, if he would have turned out differently,
Right.
because
It kind of goes back to to what you've said many different times on the podcast is, that was the Jedi's failing, is when they
Mhm.
started being generals and leading armies into battle, right? I think they kind of lost sight, where people could say, look, the Jedi failed Anakin and that's why he became Darth Vader. Just seems like that's another thing. And I don't think, man, I guess we're getting too much into that, but I just thought, I don't think
Yeah.
anyone really thought and depth and maybe, I mean, maybe we didn't see it on screen, but
But I
maybe.
think that scene helps because that's
Right.
they're having this conversation, and Obi-Wan like just doesn't have time to deal with it. He just doesn't have time to deal with Anakin's questionable aggressiveness, because
Mhm.
his questionable aggressiveness is what's winning them battles. So
Right.
like, you know what I
Right.
mean? And because that's what they need, is kind of somebody who's going to do those things. So it's like,
They'll
maybe
get
we
around to
don't
it.
maybe we don't temper this right now because we need somebody that we can send out into the universe that's going to squash the rebellions, kind of stuff. So maybe we don't temper it so much, and maybe I just deal with it later.
Right.
Mhm.
So
I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I watched Revenge of the Sith Tuesday night, and then watching this episode, episode 5, when they're doing this whole thing. And I have to say, Anakin Skywalker was a very fierce, fierce fighter, and Hayden Christensen really played the character very comfortably, and I think that the character Anakin was very, like, it looked easy for him for everything he was doing, right? And that's the other thing, when they're raising him and he's spending way too much time with a politician. First of all, they should have been more aware of that. They should have been like, whoa, why are you hanging out with this guy too much, and kind of forbid it in some way, especially if the Jedi didn't trust Palpatine anyways. But anyways, I
But
just
he was
think
also
that,
said to spy though too, right? They asked him to spy on him too. So
well, even though, because like when Anakin was growing up, right, he seemed to be around Palpatine growing up, right? Because he was like, oh,
Mhm.
you were like a mentor to me and all this kind of stuff, and
Well, remember Palpatine was from Naboo.
right, right,
So he had this connection with Naboo. He had Padme, and he had like all his child, like the things that happened. Like he was just part of his childhood and part of his upbringing. So it's
yeah,
kind of, yeah,
He even said, like, and it was a Phantom Menace. He even said, like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep my eye on you," like as
exactly.
a
Yep.
child, right? Like, so
Mhm.
obviously he was,
right,
he saw the potential right away and was stirring the pot from day one, right? Like, as
Yep.
we
right,
figured out after going over the prequels again, the Emperor was a master manipulator, right? So
Hmm.
even
right,
quite frankly, you look at the end after the big duel, Darth Vader's sitting there, we'll track down Obi-Wan, blah blah. He goes, "I think you're getting preoccupied with this,
Yeah.
like, let go of it." He's like, "So what do you think?" He goes, "Well, Obi-Wan's not even an issue anymore." Darth Vader says, right? Like,
Yeah.
says, "Oh, you're my master, therefore he's not even an issue," right? So, like, how much of a control he has over him, like so much control.
hmm
So it
yeah.
just really shows again that he's a puppet.
Yeah. Sorry. My point in bringing up Anakin and all this kind of stuff.
That's right.
I always see these debates online. Who would win in a fight, Anakin or Luke? And man, I don't know now. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I honestly think that it probably would be Anakin hands down, because of just the years and years of battle experience that he actually had.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, Luke was obviously extremely powerful and all those kind of things,
Right.
but Anakin was also like kind of a mastered, um, what's the
Like a
strategy, kind of thing too. Like he was also, he
yeah.
had, years of actual,
He had good
um,
instincts. He was
yeah.
good all the way around. And it's
Hmm.
just this one thing got him, and it's like it's how dangerous the dark side is, I guess.
I don't think it'd be close. I don't think it'd be close. I think Anakin would definitely walk all over him. Like, just he's aggressive.
Anakin in his at his age, at Luke's, if they were the same age, like
If they were the
Anakin
same
at
age.
Luke's age, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I do think that maybe Anakin, his biggest downfall is his overconfidence, right? Like he's always overconfident on everything he does, right?
It's always attack, and aggression, right?
Well, and everything came easy to him, right? So therefore, I'm the
Mhm.
best. Like if you think you're the best, are you the best? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not leaving any room for improvement if you think you're the best.
Which is we've talked about how Obi-Wan beat him the first time, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Was that arrogance was really the thing that kind of led to his downfall in their first duel.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So, what are your thoughts on kind of Reva showing up in this after getting stabbed through the chest a second time and showing up? I didn't expect that to be happening. I actually thought she was going to die there while they were standing over. Like, what's that Tarantino movie? Oh no, it's a Kill Bill. Where they're all standing over.
Yeah.
What's her
the
name?
bride. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
even the camera was. I mean, she wasn't directing it that way, but it just reminded me of that. You got Darth Vader, and then the Grand Inquisitor comes out, and it's like that whole gotcha moment.
Well,
and
he says revenge is a powerful motivator or something like that, like to not die or something. So I kind of thought they were gonna keep her alive.
I actually thought she was gonna die then.
I didn't, because I thought she needed a redemption moment.
Yeah,
I didn't think they were going to let her die without having a redemption moment. I thought she was going to die at the end, but I thought I didn't think she was going to die without getting a little bit of a redemption arc.
I knew she was not dead. I knew she wouldn't die. I knew there would be a redemption arc. That was, to me, as plain as the day it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to bring her back in some other series or whatnot too.
Probably.
Should be somewhere. I think I read that somewhere. There's plans for her to show up somewhere else.
Right.
Sort of thing, so.
And that was the other thing that I heard too, is they redid the ending to make her live. That Darth Vader. That was a rumor. I mean, you can't unless KK does an interview and says, "Yeah, this is what we did," and they rewrote the ending.
I don't know if you remember. It was the Obi-Wan series got completely reworked because it was too sad. That was the thing that Catherine Kennedy came out and said something about, like the original write-up for Obi-Wan was too sad or something like that, and that was actually one of the reasons it got rewritten, was because they thought it was too heavy.
So they kind of rewrote the ending where she did die. Darth Vader kills her and doesn't walk away before she dies.
Yeah,
that's one thing. Kind of Darth Vader's failing. He's like, Obi-Wan's dead, I guess. See you later.
He's like, check this one off. Like,
how has no one learned in the Star Wars universe that don't walk away from your prey assuming they're dead?
I mean, Darth Maul should be like the ultimate, see example, exhibit A. Like, just because you cut him in half does not mean that this man is dead. Like, that's
right. And I know that's the argument that I've heard people say, well, Darth Maul was cut in half. So Reva being stabbed by Anakin as a child and living, and then stabbed as Darth Vader and lives and seems fine as she travels across the galaxy to go to Tatooine and then walks across the desert. And then, you know what I mean? I was just like, she's not really hurt.
She was labored. She was laboring. She wasn't running fast.
Fun story about this. So when I was watching this, I was like, how is he not going to notice, like, being attacked by a Sith or something like that? Luke, kind of thing. Yeah. But then I guess if you notice that you pay attention, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru tell him that the Tusken Raiders or whatever have been coming.
Oh, yeah.
And so Luke actually never sees her, if you pay attention to it, with the lightsaber out. Because he's hidden in the room, like, while they're fighting and stuff like that. And then he escapes through the hatch when she makes it in. He runs from her, and she's got the hood on and the lightsaber not out. And then the only thing she does is, like, kind of force pull him or whatever down the cliff. And he's out unconscious when her lightsaber ignites again. So, like, he was just attacked by a hooded figure. That's all, like, he would remember from his childhood. So anyway, I thought that was clever that they kept it consistent that way, so that Luke never has, like, a memory of, you know what I mean? Like, so that's consistent. There's, like, not a...
That's a little more consistent than the whole Leia thing, but
yeah.
The whole Leia, I think that's the only. I mean, the series. Okay, first of all, Todd, you and I have talked about this maybe a couple times now. Star Wars in the TV has not seen acting as solid as it has with Ewan McGregor. You know what I mean? Like that level of solid acting. Like I in the finale, that scene where he sees Anakin's face when the helmet's cut off, and how Ewan McGregor is tearing up. I
Yeah.
felt that. I was like, because it's like seeing his brother. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know he's behind that mask and you're fighting him, but you don't notice the realities of how horrible it is on like what he's become. And he even says that, like, oh, Anakin, like he's devastated.
Yeah.
And then I think that gets Anakin or Darth Vader Anakin going too. Like, don't you feel sorry for me? You know, I'm
Yeah.
strong, I'm powerful, and all Obi-Wan can see is pity, which
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe that's why he walked away again without killing him, and
Yeah.
potentially, you know, aided in millions of people being killed. But we won't get into that.
We won't get into that. But
Yeah, I just think the whole Leia stick in there kind of threw me off. Where it made more sense. I said this to you, Todd, one time, to have Leia in Ahsoka, maybe, because that's where the connection with Rebels, where they were like, Ahsoka was Leia's contact when the rebellion was starting, and it just made more sense. It didn't have to be all Luke, and I just thought the motivations for Obi-Wan leaving the planet could have been that Jedi underground for a bit. And then he just ran into Luke sometimes, where he would purposely run into Luke on the planet, and then that would motivate Uncle
Owen.
or Uncle Owen to say, "Look, stay away. Like, I know you keep running into Luke, and we don't want you around, and all this kind of stuff." And that's how he knows about old Ben. Which, I mean, he looked.
Did you guys ever read any of the? I know I've asked you before, the Star Wars Marvel comics that came out a while ago. There was a collection of some of the Star Wars like one-off Marvel comics that were about like the Obi-Wan adventures. And I think Marvel made them into a bound book or something at one point that was like the Journal of Obi-Wan or something like that, if you've heard of it. I think it was, God, it's been a while. But it's really cool. But it's like they took the one-off Star Wars comics kind of thing and bound them together and made like a collection. But it's supposed to be like Obi-Wan's journal that Luke finds someday. And it's like all of these stories from like when Luke was on Tatooine and like where he kind of interacted from the periphery with Luke and like saved him, but Luke never knew.
Right.
The little adventures and things like that. So it was kind of cool. They kind of worked some of that stuff, it seemed like, into the story. But there was a cool little shout out I noticed, because I didn't read all of them. It was just kind of something that I was kind of aware of and read some of them. But his outfit at the end where he's got the goggles.
Yes. Yeah.
That's one of the covers of like one of the Marvel things. Like, so like they did a little like, I think that was like a little homage to one of the comics,
I like the goggles. I think that's going to be a cosplay at the Fan Expo this summer for
sure. It's a cool look. But I think that that's one of the Star Wars Marvel things. And so I think there is more story in there that they could go with, but I think that some of that story existed out there, but there was only so much when they kind of played with those stories. There's only so much that they could do. And I think maybe that's why they decided to go with the Leia route. Is like, you know what I mean? Some of that was already fleshed out as far as his adventures on Tatooine and like how to help Luke from the periphery. And so that's why I think maybe that story got written.
But the stick, instead of rescuing, you know, Leia, could have been rescuing, like he could have ran into that Jedi that said like, Obi-Wan, there's this underground railroad. They didn't call it that, but and you know, we need your help. And he could have been like, oh, ho hum about it, and then finally maybe helping them. But it just seems like the big hole of the fact that, you know, now the Empire must know that there's this connection between Obi-Wan and the Organas. So how come they weren't gathered up and, you know, murdered as traitors to the Empire? Like, there's these kinds of things, and I know that the writers kind of said they weren't really concerned with continuity, which is pretty funny. And the one guy never watched Revenge of the Sith, so he didn't know that. The lead writer didn't know that Obi-Wan knew that Anakin was Darth Vader, and then he went and asked Pablo Hidalgo, and he's like, "Yeah, he was," and he's like, "Huh." Like, that was in the Vanity Fair interview. It's like it's not
Oh my
like
gosh.
rumor. It was Vanity Fair.
Sorry, the writer didn't know
Oh
that
my gosh.
Anakin
He
was
never
Darth
watched
Vader.
Revenge of the Sith. Never watched it.
But
So
you
he
could
was
watch
just
Empire Strikes Back.
so
You know,
he
like,
was
you know,
just
like
he was
there's.
just kind of no,
No.
but he was just kind of writing, and then they were just told if you have any questions, just go talk to Pablo. So they're like,
I
okay,
want to just go talk to Pablo. We're not getting that job.
but I just thought it was funny. It's like, whoa, wait a
Yeah.
minute, you get hired. You're like, oh, awesome. I've never seen this movie. Maybe I should watch it before it start on Monday. And
Man.
you know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
thought
I know
that
what you
was
mean.
funny where they just
funny.
weren't concerned about that kind of stuff
Yeah.
and they kind of were open about it. And I thought that's the only thing, like everything else, like I can go on for hours about the fighting and the look and seeing these two together again for hours.
Do we want
But
to talk about a couple things that we want to pick on?
yeah, oh, go for it.
Okay, so in the just this is I was curious if this stuck out to you guys. So in the opening, the chase scene, you know, when you've got Vader's big is it a destroyer? What is that one?
It is. It was a destroyer, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Okay. So when he's in that and they're chasing,
Yeah, right there.
did you guys wonder why he didn't send out TIE fighters? Did
Oh,
that
Yeah, I did.
like I was
did.
like, so what is happening? Like, because in
'Cause-
any other in any other Star Wars like situation where you have like this happening, like especially when one ship takes off, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean, where the hyperdrive's disabled or something like that. Like
And TIE fighters are so much
And the TIE
faster than a
fighters got
Star
there.
Destroyer. That the TIE fighters would have caught that freighter so fast. So fast.
I mean, I just didn't understand why that like didn't come up, or there wasn't like a line about like maybe they didn't have any on board because it was a new Star Destroyer, or like I don't like there's other, or maybe he just didn't want to blow it up because he wanted to draw Obi-Wan out. Maybe that was why he just kept pressure on them because he didn't actually want to blow them up or
He
something
wanted
like that.
confrontation.
Yeah, he wanted the
but
confrontation,
The TIE
and that
fighters
would have
did
made
that better.
that would have made sense to me too. But that's my whole thing is I kept waiting for the TIE fighters. Like I
Right.
was like, any minute now.
No,
It
you
didn't
bring up a
happen.
very. I did
Yeah,
question the
true.
exact same thing. Going, why are they sending TIE fighters? So, like, it just makes no sense. Because TIE fighters are faster than what A-wing
Yeah.
going comparable to a TIE wing speed, right? Like, there's no way that freighter would outrun a TIE fighter or multiple TIE fighters.
Yeah, unless they're I don't know.
And,
So
maybe they were just, the destroyer was budget TIE fighters, and they
which
were
is
like,
whatever. I mean, it made sense for the story. It made sense for what was happening. It was just like it was just an odd thing for me, I guess. Like I just wondered.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And then the other thing was like, and then after the battle, and then when Obi-Wan leaves the planet, they show him just like, hopping off the planet.
Yeah.
It was like, well, where's the Star Destroyer? Did they just be like, oh, I guess it's all good if he just leaves? Like,
yeah. I noticed that too. Like there wasn't the chase or the I guess Vader's in trouble. Maybe we should.
I thought he was gonna like steal Vader's shuttle or something like that to leave.
Oh,
to
that
where
would've been
like they
smarter.
didn't like steal, so they were just like, oh, bye Vader, like
Yeah.
because usually like the rebels have to do sneaky things like that to where they don't. But I guess since
Right.
it's a TV show and it's not the movie, they don't have to like think about those kind of things. But those were things that like stuck out to my brain that I was like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels like the rebels have to be sneakier than this. But
well, speaking of like ships and stuff, I really like my only complaints I really have is a couple janky stuff. Where I thought things didn't look right. Like if you comb all the Star Wars movies, like how many times do you see a ship just go like from 0 to Mach 1 right away? Like every single time a ship leaves, it's fast. When it lands, it's fast. You never see that ever in any of the other Star Wars shows, movies. Everything comes up slowly and then like this starts going then faster. But everything is here is like every time, and like it just looks so weird. It's like I know working in physics makes no sense, but every time I see a ship move in the Star Wars universe, it makes sense. It's all believable. This wasn't. I just find like the ship's taking off way too fast. Or even like when the freighter's like trying to, it's like maneuvering, like everything just looks so video game-ish sort of. It just looked off. Everything looked off when it comes to the ships evading the blaster from the Star Destroyer. You never see that in any other movie where a big freighter is making big maneuvers like that. Like I know it's not huge, but it's not small. You know what I'm saying? It's not an
Mhm.
X-wing. It's not like
Yeah.
I say the freighter holds a lot more people than the Millennium Falcon does. You know what I'm saying? It's probably bigger than the Millennium Falcon, but it just looked just kind of weird. Again, it just took me out of the story a little bit because when it just doesn't
Yeah.
look right, and those
Yeah.
are the things that bother me. Like another one I go back is when Vader is holding again. It's so cool, but it's just he looks so big and the ship looks so small. It was really weird. I think it was in episode
Oh, where he episode
4.
5, right? When
Oh,
he
I think it
Yeah,
was the previous one where he pulls the ship out of the
fly
hangar.
away, and then
Yeah.
then he rips it apart. And then the other one, like so fast, like it's gone. Like how did it go so fast? And why couldn't he stop that one? It just seemed weird. It just looked a little janky. Those are my only complaints. They're really small, but those are the moments I really took. Like that should have been really cool if Vader holding back the freighter, but to me it just looked weird because he was so
That
big.
was yeah.
The force perspective just wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? Like it just didn't look. It looked like they rushed that part. And
That was a video game, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember. I feel like I played that level, like pulling a
was-
spaceship out of the
Yeah,
sky.
I think it's called it's shadows. No, it's
It was the Star Killer.
It's the
Somebody
Force
Star
Unleashed,
Killer.
Yeah,
right?
it's the Star Killer one. Yeah,
the Force
where you
Unleashed.
do you do the Star Destroyer.
Yeah. You do
But again, it wasn't fast. It was nice and slow. It made
it
sense.
was. You had to like mash the button,
Yeah,
like
it makes total sense. Where this just seems like
Vader's other
speeding it
hand,
up.
he was mashing really hard. He's like,
Yeah, we only have a half hour, so we have to speed that process up, and it costs more money to do the visual effects longer. So let's just speed it up. It just seemed weird. Those are the things that just bother me. The ships just move way too fast when landing. I know it's so small and trivial, but it just seemed weird. I've never seen it before in any Star Wars movie.
So, the another thing though, back to another thing that I loved though, with little nods to the prequel, the Obi-Wan, the I will do what I must, and then his little like lightsaber over the top and stupid. Yeah, that one. That was a great little nod to the prequel.
yes.
Now that you guys like the prequels, I can talk about these things with you.
I love the prequels. Man,
I know you do now.
I'm such
It's
a
not that I
weird
never
father.
liked them. I just have a greater appreciation for them.
Yes.
I've forgiven their flaws a lot more. Like
yeah.
That's all.
And that was great. And then when he meets Luke at the end and says, "Hello there," which I guess isn't really a prequel thing because that's an original Obi-Wan, hello there thing. But
well, hello there.
Yeah.
That's his first line of dialogue he says to R2, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. That was his first line of dialogue he says to R2, but then it was like it became really popular because he jumps down when he confronts Grievous and he goes, "Hello there," and that's the General Kenobi, and then that became really popular.
Every time I see that in the movie, like when I was watching it, I giggle every time because of the meme.
Yeah, it's so it's one of the every time I see home decor that says "hello there," I go General Kenobi to my husband, and he's like,
"You're such a nerd." That's so funny. Yeah, I don't. My wife doesn't get any of that stuff or care, or she just goes, "That's probably like a Star Wars thing."
That's what my daughter does. I'll say stuff all the time, one-liners, and they don't get it. I'm like,
nope.
I know. So disappointing.
I know, it's sad. Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars for my daughter.
Oh, I know. I hate
still
that.
Gone. It's still gone, man.
He just didn't ruin it for your daughter. There's hundreds of thousands of people who say that he ruined Star Wars.
She's just Anyways, no. I think going back to favorite parts too is the fight and on the planet between Vader and Obi-Wan, and I pointed this out before. I really love the wide angle shots. Like if you're looking at this where they kind of
gorgeous,
and that reminds me of in The Mandalorian when Ahsoka is meeting with the
what's her name? Yes, the lady with the spear. The lady with the spear.
Lady with the spear. I forget her name. And it's that whole the Japanese kind of samurai feel, and this is what it's here. But further to that, so Vader, he's coming off the ship. And he walks up. So you see, this reminds me of like a Western or a duel in these movies. So you see his perspective looking on, and then you see the other samurai with his sword looking on. I just love that whole scene. And then they square up. And the only thing they didn't do was we didn't see them light the sabers and do a fancy pose, right? It just went to
But there are other shots that are wide angles that are pulled out while their sabers are across. Because like there's I think there's some other ones too.
There's a transition between the one scene they went to Tatooine and back again. They always start with a wide shot.
It was so hard to get the screenshots because they were so fast.
Yeah, and what I loved about this final duel location, to me, it's the exact opposite of the last duel. We're here, in Mustafar, they're fighting those lava everywhere. Now this looks like a planet that was made where all the lava's dried up, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Everything's rock, jagged rock. Like it was, like, lava just kind of hardened, and boom, everything's all rock and just a wasteland, which I thought was a really kind of neat effect. No, Mustafar was a wasteland too. It's all lava, but active. You know what I'm saying? Hot heat. Where this is look like the exact opposite. Just cool, cold. Yeah, exactly. You look at that. Go to the wide shot again. See, it has a cold feeling to it, right? You know what I'm saying? Look at the colors, right? It's dark, dank, damp. You know what I'm saying? Like it just has a cold kind of desolation feeling to it, right? You know, just emptiness.
It's supposed to be a moon or something, possibly. Did they name the planet? I don't know if they did.
I don't know. I think they might have said something. I can't remember exactly what
they didn't name it in the episode, I don't think. You know what it reminds me of? There was an episode of Rebels that was on a planet similar to that, I think. Do you remember? There was like an episode where they went somewhere that looked very similar to that, and I don't know that it's the same place.
Because look at it.
Yeah, it was very foggy. Had those weird like rock formations.
I'm gonna have to look. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
It looks similar to the planet on Rogue One, except that was raining though. But it looks very, very familiar with it.
But this whole setup, this is actually my favorite perspective here. Seeing Vader coming towards you, and if that was a sword, it would be a sword, right? It just is a very, very cool feeling, and it wasn't like. I just liked how they talked to each other. And it was very calm, and then they got into it. And the fighting was so fast and so close, right? I said this before we went live. I just really appreciate how close they were, like kind of like real fighting would actually happen and stuff. So it was very, very cool.
And what I really like to
the use of the landscaping, the use of those kind of things. Yeah, we were talking about that, but go ahead, John.
It's right here. That's my other favorite part.
But even before we get to that part, I love the fact that again, it showed Vader, Anakin's arrogance, because at the beginning he's one-handed. Like he was one-handed. He wasn't like Obi-Wan's gone two. He's just one. Do. I got you. Like he's already overconfident until Obi-Wan starts. Obi-Wan's always on defense the whole entire time. Gets buried under rock. And Vader's like, oh, he's done. Walks away. Watch. I don't know why they keep walking away from each other. Make sure they're dead. You know what I'm saying? But again,
Darth Vader. Sorry, in a New Hope, when he kills Obi-Wan, he at least
stomps on the road. See that's where
somebody learns, right? Somebody learns. Oh, is he there? Oh, he's not there. I did finally. He double tapped, right? It's like watch Zombieland, guys. Double tap. Come on.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
But what a great build up. It shows Darth Vader. Boom, boom. Buries friggin' Obi-Wan under the rock, and it looks like it's over. But what? Just that part with him underneath struggling, right? Then all the voices in his head. He's hearing Darth Vader. He's hearing Leia. He's hearing,
he's hearing Hayden too. There's Hayden's voice in there too.
Exactly, right? Like all those things. He's like, no, I can't give up, And then boom, then things go from like intense to like massively intense, right? And now Obi-Wan, who's playing defense the whole entire time, now comes on the offensive, right? All the rock, like how cool, like you guys saying, what an amazing scene. And then he starts throwing all the rocks at Vader, and Vader's just standing there taking it like he's just getting pummeled with rocks.
Pummeled.
It was so cool, and again visually, like I know we saw old Anakin, but you know what? I'm glad they spent the money on that part because that looks fantastic when he's being pummeled by those rocks.
Yeah. That was really good. And then again, back to that scene where,
how great was that? Especially when the lights went across his face and the sparks were like, how good did that look? Right? It just looks so good. And you're going, and you go, okay, it's put the mask up, but I hadn't shown it. But even how they built that up, they didn't show it right away. Then all of a sudden, boom, you see the eyes, like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
what a I said this before we went on, but what
Yeah.
a haunting image that was for Obi-Wan, right? And you talk about how good Ewan McGregor has been the whole entire series. Like that, looking at seeing that human part of Anakin, right, his brother, and just like the pain and anguish that he's going through, living as Vader. It was so good, which it made the great conversation to that one big line is, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Like, whoa, it was like so intense. And just the look on his face of just
Yeah.
horror,
That's very
disbelief, not
cool.
disbelief, but just like shock and like just
Sadness for it all. Yeah.
seeing the fact that he thought he killed Anakin, didn't kill Anakin, and now he's living this torturous existence, right? Like,
But
very
that
powerful.
also, that really is another one of those things that lends itself to continuity for the A New Hope and everything, with that conversation that he has with Luke, because that's one of those things that people like to poke fun at, like the oh, he betrayed and murdered your father, when Obi-Wan is
Right.
telling Luke about, Darth Vader and stuff like that. And so like the um people like to poke fun at that. Like, oh, Obi-Wan straight up lied to this kid that he just met, about this, situation. But it's like, no, he really could, in good conscience, tell Luke that, because
Vader.
like of this interaction that they just had. Like that is
Right.
you know what I mean? Because that is the way that he made peace with it. That is the way
Right.
that he made peace, that I didn't kill him. He made
Right.
this choice, like he did this to himself. And so you know what I mean, like it's kind of one of those things that like that helps really kind of.
Yeah. I still
But he
kind of
did
think
lie, yeah.
Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan, with this from a certain point of view, is still kind of a liar about that. But
Yeah.
no, but they kind of explain it that way. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, they didn't tell him that because they were trying to get him to kill his father.
That
And then when he
is one of
found
those
out, like,
things.
bitter fallen generals who wanted revenge, and Luke's like, hey man, I feel good in him, I think I can save him. And they were like, no, you gotta kill him, the person that we didn't tell you was your father.
But that would help explain why Obi-Wan felt that way, though, and why
No, for
Obi-Wan
sure.
tried to point Luke that way, is because
He couldn't do it.
Obi-Wan had this interaction with him,
Yeah.
searched him for good, and found nothing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Obi-Wan had this confrontation, looked for
Right.
his friend, and didn't see him. And so when he's talking to Luke and Luke is saying there's good in him, Obi-Wan's like, I've been there, man. Like
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to do, and I tried it and it's not there. So you know what I mean? Like he's
No, I know. But
it's
I just think that, maybe they thought Luke was being naive because he was like, I have a father,
oh, I'm sure they thought he was
But
being naive.
if they would have taken their time and maybe kind of thought, kind of looked at it like what Luke was doing, maybe they would have seen the good in him or blah blah blah. But no, I just think it's.
But these
it
are the
kind of
same
funny.
people that raised Anakin, which
They're not good at raising kids, are they?
They're really not.
That's
they
funny.
don't make good choices.
But they did do that. And the other thing I thought was kind of was when Obi-Wan, he shows back up and he's talking to Leia, and to counter all so when she sends a message to Obi-Wan, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars and then acted like he was a stranger when he died and stuff and had no connection to him. He tells her here, basically, let's just keep this a secret. And she's like, okay. And then that's how they explain why she wasn't
like upset when he dies
or talking to him like a stranger. Instead of, I made this thing and I thought was funny. I think I showed it last week, but basically this: years ago, you served my father in Clone Wars. Or, I mean, you remember that time you saved me when I was 10? I need your help again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a personal message. And people say, well, what if they caught the message? Well, either way, she's sending a message to Obi-Wan and is a traitor.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. But she was known to be, she didn't want to out him as being part of the Rebel network. She didn't want to out him as helping her as a child because, like, there's some danger of her parents, like her birth parents, like, like, I don't know, like maybe she knew that she couldn't tell anybody about the time that he helped her when she was 10 because there was some danger of somebody finding out about who her birth parents were or something like that. I don't know. Maybe she was given some more I'm just spitballing here.
I know.
Maybe that was
like
like
a continuity issue where they're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Eh, we don't
maybe
care."
that was like the code thing that they were given, to help each other, whatever.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't explain why she had no emotion like when he died. Like that's the thing that like, you know what I mean? Like where she's just like comforting Luke and like just kind of like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it
But
doesn't.
why not just say Obi-Wan, instead of saying you fought with my father in the Clone Wars, whatever. Instead of saying that, just say Obi-Wan, I need your help, blah, 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 straight up. If she doesn't even want to say, hey, remember we hung out 10 years ago, 9 years, like whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like I just think it was the continuity that they didn't care about, and that's fine. But
Yeah.
Well, wait till you see the New Hope special edition.
special edition
Where they changed the whole thing. Is remember back when I was 10, you came and helped me. I'd love to have that little help again.
Aw. Well, I mean, maybe he does help her more in the, as a teenager or something like that. You know what? I'm trying to think of. Well, there was a Leia comic that came out. I can't remember if there was any interactions with her and Obi-Wan in that as a
Wasn't
teenager.
there one recently, like within 5 or so years or something?
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. That it was like another Marvel.
Because they had like
one.
Then they had like Chewbacca, then they had like a Leia, then they had like a couple others.
There was a limited Lando one that was only 10 episodes or something, or 10 issues or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, not episodes. But I'm tired, man.
Okay. I do the same thing all the time. I see episodes all the time when I'm talking comic books too. You get into episodes now that with Netflix and streaming services, it's always episode this, episode that.
But anyway, no, they were really good. The ones that I've read have been pretty good, but I think there were some in there. I didn't read all of hers. But I'm wondering if maybe there's some like limited interaction or something that she has with like the Rebel Network that maybe Obi-Wan's interacted with or something like that. So maybe it's not that they were complete strangers or something like that, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't mind having Leia. I'm not bothered by it. I know that it's kind of ruined a bit of the continuity where your fans are making up different scenarios to make it feasible for happening. I don't care. Like, I really like the touch of the Leia. I had some really good emotional moments that I thought really landed well. Whether it ruins the continuity in A New Hope, I can forgive that just because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
If it was terrible, didn't land, then I have more of a problem with it, right?
She was a cute kid and she did it well. Like she can and she was great. She was a very convincing young Leia. Like she was she had the attitude, she had the compassion, she had all of the things. You know what I mean? Like she was brave, but she was kind. Like she had all of the things that you would have expected from a young Leia. And
she pulled up all the traits that Obi-Wan described her as, right?
Yeah.
Like and she pulled it off convincingly.
Yeah, she was a great
Very
actor.
Much. Yeah, I thought so too. So that's the thing is, I don't. It's not going to bother me that much because I really enjoyed seeing it because it felt like a window into an old friend, kind of thing. It felt like seeing. It felt like seeing childhood Leia, like it like something,
Almost makes you wish they, went back in time and had a different actor for playing Anakin in episode 1.
Yeah.
Right? Because, again, I think that's more direction than it was performance based, but I don't know. But like, Anakin was not believable in anything, it seemed like, but she was so strong.
Yeah, she was.
I think the Anakin in episode 1 should have been a little older. I think he should have been made older.
I think that was kind of part of the problem.
Age.
Yeah.
Closer to her age.
Closer to more sense.
He was like, what, 8 years younger, probably?
Yeah, there was some.
There was an age difference, but it would make sense, right? Because he's too old because he's maybe 12 or something, 12 or 13, something like that, and it just would have made more sense for the timeline. But Lucas went with a younger character. I'm sure he was trying to hit certain groups, or I don't know. He just wanted to get the kid in there and stuff. But he was a little young, and it would have made sense if he was older. But yeah,
it is what it is. We can't. No time machine to go back and fix it. So
yeah.
So we haven't talked about the appearance of an old friend at the end.
Oh goodness.
Well, me and you, Steve, were talking about this back in episode 2, right? Will we see
Yeah.
Qui-Gon? I thought for sure we would, and we both had different theories of how we would see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I was worried getting near the end of the episode. I went, holy crap, we haven't seen him yet. I think they trolled us, but I still have. But as soon as I saw him riding off into the sunset, okay, no, he's gonna make an appearance now, and sure enough, he did. But I think on the theories, if we go back in time and check the past episodes, I think my theory is closer to how Qui-Gon's going to appear than yours, Steve. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. The Rocky 3 thing would have been a lot
Well,
better with the Eye of the Tiger montage and Obi-Wan like push-ups and skipping and.
See, I said would see Qui-Gon when Obi-Wan found his way again. And what it was is, and what did he say? I've been waiting for you for a long time. I've
been here the whole time.
The whole time. But now you can see, so again, Obi-Wan had to find his way, his path back to the light. And
right. I just didn't think Liam Neeson was going to do it. I completely forgot until I saw him.
It was completely like out of my brain. I thought maybe if anything we were going to get like a voice thing or something like that, whatever. I didn't think about it. Like the episode was ending. I was like, that was really sweet. That was really good. And then like the silhouette kind of thing. And I was like, like I literally like gasped.
Well, they didn't show his face. They showed the behind, right? They showed from behind.
Yeah.
Like, they're going, oh, is that? Of course it's
and
him.
I did like a no way.
Well, see, waiting for the fans to do that, and the turning, you're like, yeah, I wasn't as moved by that moment as say maybe Jen was. Obviously, Jen's kind of gushing. I wasn't as moved as much as you were because Qui-Gon wasn't one. Qui-Gon wasn't one of my favorite characters.
Well, because he's up there for me. I have
Qui-Gon
a friend
is my second
who's
favorite
huge Qui-Gon fan. Yeah.
Second favorite.
Maybe second or third.
He's so great. He has some excellent lines. Like he has some really great, like sage advice that he gives. Some of his lines are really good.
I think I remember the first time seeing Phantom Menace, I was just put off because of the fact that it wasn't Obi-Wan as the main Jedi, and I didn't know who Qui-Gon was. I was like, what? I just remember being a little bit disappointed, and then the movie, like at first when I first watched episode 1, was a little underwhelming. So it kind of tainted. I've learned to appreciate it. Again, I still didn't go nuts when I saw Qui-Gon at the end. I was like, whatever. I got more excited when I saw Stormtroopers. I was more excited when I saw Darth Vader. Again, those are the ones that I went, woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Yassine.
Hi, Yassine. Yes.
Yeah. No, it was very cool for me. I like the whole like in the beard, the hair, the Jedi, the everything. Yeah, it was so cool to see.
He looks the same. It's funny.
I wish there was a burn mark in his robe though.
That's so mean. I wish I had that picture here. That's one of my what Mondays feel like meme.
Oh,
and it's
is his
scene where Darth Maul has a lightsaber in him. It's like then Happy Monday. That's one of the ones that I put out there. It's me. But hey, someone who actually dies from a lightsaber to the chest.
Yeah, exactly. The only one.
One person. Everyone else just loses hands. Well, no.
Dooku.
Oh, Dooku.
Double lightsabers to the head.
Yeah, that's when Anakin made sure they were dead.
Well, no, actually, and Palpatine took out a few Jedi there in his office there.
Yeah, right.
Remember when they came to arrest him, and he took out a couple Jedi quite easily.
Yeah, who did? I was going to call him Samuel Jackson. Who did Windu bring with him to that fight? Like they were terrible. He should have showed up with Anakin.
I think Palpatine was actually considered to be a really good lightsaber.
Was one of them Kit Fisto? Did he have Kit Fisto there with him?
Yeah, the guy wasn't the green guy. The green guy with tentacles, didn't they? They had him, did they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had some girl. I thought no girl. It wasn't the guy with the ugly face. Yeah, like one eye.
Yeah, it was the one-eyed guy.
Yeah, one-eyed guy. Yeah, he went down.
Was Kit Fisto there? I don't remember. Now I'm gonna have to look it up. Now you're questioning my prequel knowledge, and
Steve, you saw it the other day. You saw it the other day. Who was it? You don't remember?
It was him.
Yeah.
It was him, and I don't know who the other person was.
The green squid guy.
Yeah, and
that's Kit Fisto.
Okay,
it's like the B team or something because
Well, because like all the
Well,
other Jedis are out. Because like
It's-
Plo
the-
Koon gets shot down. Plo Koon, I love him. He gets
Oh,
shot down in the
yeah.
plane, or
Yes.
the fighter.
Mhm.
Alara Sakura, whatever her name is. She's the one who's out in like the forest trees,
Yeah.
whatever, and she gets gunned down. She does the like fall.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
And then they just keep shoot. Or was that the one?
yeah,
No,
they're
no.
like,
they keep
shooting her on the
keep
ground.
shooting her. Yeah.
yeah. And then I'm trying to think, and then the other what's
The old man guy with the big head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is his
He
name?
gets taken
I
down
can't
the
think of his
bridge.
name. Yep. And then the one that is the Taruga, the same race as Ahsoka. I can't think of her name.
Yes. No.
With
I know
the
what you
really
mean.
long
Yeah.
thing. What is her? She died. She has 2 deaths. She has 2 on-screen deaths. Because one of them was in an extended edition where she dies on the bridge of a ship, and then she also dies somewhere else too. I can't.
It was in the bowels of a ship, I think it was.
Yeah.
That was in the
Shakti.
It was a deleted scene.
She's there. It is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yassine.
There you go.
Alea Secura is the Twi'lek, and then Shakti is the Taruga.
Well, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Wealth of information.
Okay. So just make sure that you show up at 9 p.m. next time, and we'll use you as a reference. No. So basically, what we learn is the scourge of the Jedi is either the Mandalorians, the clone troopers, or arrogance.
Yeah,
because they didn't see Palpatine coming. But because the clone troopers, man, in that, I guess I shouldn't be excited when they come in with Anakin and they're shooting everyone, but they look so damn cool. It was exciting seeing them. I guess it's like I said earlier, it's the numbers. I guess I'm like, ooh, I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, it's like in the Attack of the Clone Wars, right? Like at the end when the Jedi were surrounded by all those aliens on that planet, the big dome, like they're overrun. The droids are all wiping them out because there's sheer numbers of them, right? There's only a few of them left, and then the clone troopers come in and save the day. Like massive numbers is massive numbers. It's you're overwhelmed. If it's 100 to 1, there's a good chance you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
no matter how skilled you are.
Yep.
So overall, guys, what did you think of the series? Like,
as I said, my favorite Star Wars series.
I loved it. So this is the one that I had been looking forward to for years. I mean, like 10 years or so they'd been talking about doing this one, and Ewan McGregor had been like, no, I haven't been asked, or I've been asked, but I can't talk about it. And like he'd grow out his beard and then he'd shave it, and then he'd like grow it and he'd shave it. Like there was so many weird, like, so I had been looking forward to the series for so long, and I had so much hope for it, and it was so great, and it was so beautiful, and it was so wonderful. And I love Hayden for coming back and doing this, because it was perfect to have him in it. And it was wonderful.
Yeah, I could see more Darth Vader. I would enjoy that very much. See him at. I just to me the highlights at episode 3 when Darth Vader's walking down the alleyway, dragging people out of the homes and stuff like that. That was it's one of the most memorable things. Going, wow, like
he was bad. Like you know what I mean. Like that was he took
a kid. Like mom, snap the kid's neck, right? Like just like and dragging that lady screaming down the down the road, like it was so powerful.
Well, killing kids was his specialty,
right? Like it was just showed how ruthless he was, and how he was not going to be intimidated, and that he's a guy you didn't want to mess with, right? And it was just so cool seeing Darth Vader. It reminds me a lot of Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back, my favorite Star Wars movie, where Darth Vader, he was just knocking down his commanders with at will, right? Like you failed me
for the last time.
Last time. You're like here's your promotion, don't fail me. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my favorite movie. It just shows how bad he was, right? Like where my knock against Return of the Jedi is the fact that he's got too much good in him. You know what I'm saying? Like it's showing his weakness, and it's like but here it's nice to see him at his full potential.
Well, and one of the things that, it's like it's a Reddit thing or something like that, talking about like how dramatic Anakin is. Like, that's like one of the things. And like, that is one of the things I love, like the cape and the steering his ship away to just take out Obi-Wan and fighting him on this planet and doing like Anakin is dramatic. Like if you look at the Clone Wars stuff, like the way in which he approaches battles and stuff like that, like sometimes like he does these big dramatic things, like like his fights on Mustafar, like he's a lot. And the Vader is a lot too. Like the fights down these hallways with the really intimidating stuff with the cape and the stuff. And I love that. I love that that's a, you know, continuing that presence is so big. And it to me, some of that is still Anakin, you know, that,
Yeah.
you know,
It's still got ego. He's a bit of a
Yeah.
narcissist, right?
Exactly.
He thinks he's awesome. Look how
Mhm.
awesome I am, right? Like, you know,
Exactly.
it's stage presence. It's everything, right? It's all a show, right? He wants to show that he's the best, and he wants to dress the best. And yeah, it's, you know, you're bringing up a really good point. Like, this again shows the fact that it's all showmanship, right? You know?
Yeah.
Well, even in Attack of the Clones, when him and Obi-Wan are chasing that bounty hunter that tried to assassinate
Oh, yeah.
Padme, he
I
just
couldn't find one in a
jumps
color
out.
that I liked or whatever.
Yeah. But then he even gets tired of Obi-Wan, you know, being the backseat driver, and he just jumps out.
Jumps out. Yeah.
Just like, I'm just going to jump out. And then that's, you know what I mean? He's always had that. It was kind of like, before he turned bad, to me, it felt more like swashbuckler,
Mm-hmm.
a little wild. And of course, then when he turned bad, it was more of an intense presence, obviously, because he's just snapping necks. And that's the thing I always liked about Darth Vader. Whenever they would show him, he would always be, because the actor, right, Prowse was so big in the costume. He would be in these hallways, and he just looked even scarier and bigger. That's why when he was chasing Obi-Wan in episode 4, in that big open kind of sand, he didn't seem as big. Like, I can understand why filmmakers would always have him in these smaller areas, because he would just seem even scarier. I mean, you know, he was going through this town. It was scary of him snapping necks and killing people and stuff. But yeah, there's more of a presence with him there.
You know, guys, I really have to go, but thank you very much for letting me be part of this again. And 2 thumbs up for Obi-Wan. I can't wait. Hopefully there's a season 2. I would love to see it, but I have to fly. And thank you very much for letting me be part of it, guys.
All right, Todd. We'll see you later. We're going to be signing off anyways here now too. But thanks, everyone. Before we go, I just want to make sure everyone checks us out at starwarsreporter.com for the latest news. Look at that cool stuff here. It's got all our social media information. And I really appreciate everyone in the chat. Be sure to join us next time. Check us out on our social media, and you'll find out the time of our next podcast. But thanks, Jen. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Thanks for being our prequel expert and our expert in all things Obi-Wan and again, thank you for pulling me back into the prequels. So this was really good. So thanks for everyone, and we will see you next time.